is, of course, Madam Purity Kangai from the Mount Kenya University School of Law. Karibuni sana.
Asante.
Right. And I want to say something before we begin. And this was raised by our good friend Omwansa. Omwansa said last time, he was here, he said he would also like to be part of this panel. Like there should be equality. So I tell you, the positioning is not because of age or seniority or anything like that. It's just a matter of studio dynamics. Everyone here has a microphone, everyone here has a voice, everyone here has an opinion to be shared, and Kenyans are willing to listen to what you say, all right? And with that out of the way, the People's Court begins now. I think I would like to get a reaction, first of all. Ladies and gentlemen, let's start with you. Talk to me from where you sit. What was your response? What was your reaction when you saw the president dissolving not just one person's position, but the entire cabinet? Well, say for one, but that sort of move. What was your response? What was your reaction?
Thank you so much for that. Before I answer that, I just want to remind you that we are here, but we don't have a table. So next time we organize so that we have a table.
You're working on getting a seat on the table.
Yeah,
I like it.
He's giving a lot of Gen Z, so they moved from one demand onto another. So next time he'll ask for coffee.
I tell you.
Yeah, if you don't
we'll
find
have
a table,
Omwansa, then the lady behind
you bring yours. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. So about my reaction about what the president did. Of course, you remember that not once or twice we've been insisting for him to send the CSS home, because all of them, they are very incompetent. They don't represent us. They are not working for us. They're working for themselves on their own generations, on our own behalf, while we are suffering. So I was happy about the same. But again, it is not yet Uhuru, because he didn't send everyone home. There is that one big person that he left, whom that we don't know, who is eating, driving, and enjoying life on our behalf. So yet we are not happy about that. At least we appreciate he listened to us, but the pressure is getting worse, and we must be there no matter what.
So is the pressure increasing or decreasing?
It's just increasing.
All right, madam, please.
I think for me, I was quite intrigued to see that the president had actually listened to some of, the concerns that us as the Gen Z, I am a Gen Z myself, that some of the concerns that we had aired out, I was happy to see that he had, listened to it to a point. It was quite exciting to see people like Murkomen to be removed from that position of power, considering how they were flaunting the wealth that they had acquired at the expense of the Kenyan people. But also I wondered, what next? Who is he going to appoint in terms of the next cabinet? What is the next future? What is the next step for us as the Kenyan people? And with that, he had not quite answered it yet. So I guess all I can say is I am waiting to see the next step that President William Ruto will have for the Kenyan people.
All right, Mr. Rotich, your response as we also wait to listen to Ms. Kangai.
Thank you very much, Victor. I'm Rotich David, a law student and a youth leader from Baringo County, the county of diversity. When the president announced that he's dismissing the entire cabinet, we heaved a sigh of relief, but we were like, this was long overdue. And it's not like, there's two sides to this particular coin. That is that the president is benefiting from us helping him restructure a cabinet which was holding him hostage due to political bargains. So insofar as the Gen Zs, we are happy that the president has heeded one of our so long demands, but he stands as one of the biggest beneficiaries of our actions, simply because instead of appointing technocrats into his cabinet, the president tried to repay political dues by appointing politicians to serious the biggest policy makers of this particular country. It was sad to see some esteemed individuals whom we expected actually that they will seriously serve in that particular government, including the good Professor Abraham Kithure Kindiki. But I think there is something that happens when You know, when you are within a particular space, there's some element of energies and corruption that happens to distinguished humans when they enter such space. But this is a wing of the same bird, the wings of the same bird. The Gen Zs are benefiting, and the president has a chance to appoint technocrats instead of politicians. Thank you.
All right. Ms. Kangai, your reaction, your response, and what you're now concerned with.
Yeah, I think it was quite a step for us as a young generation and what we're fighting for. It was quite amazing to see that we have achieved what I would say our parents would have taken years to achieve. It was a good step, but there's always a but when it comes to President William Ruto. The demeanor, I want to be petty. I want to be petty in everything. The demeanor at which he's taking action in his government doesn't show that he has the Kenyans at heart. You can't come and dismiss a cabinet, a whole cabinet, and your demeanor is telling us it's a mockery on our face. I've done it. So what do you want me to do next? And for us, we expected once he sends away the entire cabinet, he should be able to give us a reason for doing it. Why have you done it? If you have listened to us, then bring these people into court, bring these people into justice. Let the people that have they have looted money from the public funds, be brought to justice. Give us a reason to trust you and to trust that the step you have taken is a step of goodwill. You cannot just send people home and put it on our face that, I've done it, so what do you want me to do next? And then tell us, we pray. This country cannot go forward with just prayers. We need more than prayers. We need actions. We need to see that he has the will of the people at heart. Yes.
All right. Mr. Okech, please. And then we have Mr. Kajwang to finish.
Appreciations. I think the president move took me back to the books of history. And I remembered Mobutu Sese Seko when he thought his Concorde flight will always move to his palace. I also remembered Charles Taylor when he thought that he lived like he owned the title deed of Liberia. Who knew that today we would speak about the CSS being outside office? In the same, I'm curious to know how the president now is going to handle the issue of shareholding in terms of politics. It is a crucial question because as we are looking to the new CSS that are going to come up, we are also going to look at the question of shareholding kind of politics. I resonate with Rotich on the issue of meritocracy, but I also contend that it is not enough, whereby we have seen people who are learned, but they still can't deliver. We need people with integrity, people who, at least even if they have history in the institution, they have to be people with integrity so that they can deliver.
All right. And Mr. Kajwang?
Thank you. I'm SK Kajwang, a patriotic citizen. And I'll start by moving with the words of Mark Twain, who said, a patriotic citizen is not one who defends his government, but one who defends his country all the time. And therefore, as John Quincy Adams said, the 6th president of the United States of America said, that if your actions inspire others to do more, dream more, learn more, and become more, then you're a leader. And it was inexplicated in the Ruto's government or his cabinet that they were all inept, they were incompetent, they were very corrupt. And it is very disastrous to be both corrupt and incompetent. So therefore, it ought not to have been in the first place, to have been given an opportunity to appear even in the cabinet. So it was even a disastrous mistake for Ruto to appoint those fellows or those individuals to be in the cabinet. So that's my take.
All right.
Indeed, as they were making their submissions, these gentlemen right here were, nodding in, agreement, or perhaps even just looking like they agree specifically with that. But I want to begin with you, Richard. What I'm picking from all this, what we've heard from the young people right here in studio, from what is happening online, the bone of contention is a 5-letter word, trust. And there seems not to be public trust yet in the president because he has, dismissed his cabinet. It is still not satisfactory. There are talks of those who could be, returning to the same cabinet, and all these intrigues in a manner where, and we'll come to it later, power sharing, are we back to that? But when you look at how this, is moving, what do you make of it in terms of the legal aspects and adhering to the one document that governs us all, the 2010 Constitution?
Thank you. To begin with, I'll start by saying that a bad government is better than no government at all.
Okay.
Because from a bad government, we can proceed to the alternative, which is a good government. You talked about the Constitution. The Constitution is there most of the time, which is the law, is there to regulate political behavior. And sometimes there is an overlap between what is legal and what is political. And many a times the political takes over the legal. Talking about trust, the president is the embodiment of the Kenyan psyche. When the Kenyans look at President William Samoei Ruto, they are seeing themselves through the President William Samoei Ruto. Remember, this government was elected by the Kenyans who put William Samoei Ruto to office. So I want to make a very unpopular observation that perhaps Kenyans don't trust themselves, and that's why they don't even trust William Ruto. So when they see William Ruto, it's just a reflection of themselves, like mirror on the wall. And so because of that, I think it's a moment of reflection. We have to understand that this is not a historical burden that can be put on one person. It calls for introspection. It calls for collective honesty. And I mean, look at even the Gen Zs. The Gen Zs are saying we don't even trust one of ourselves to lead us. We don't trust the government either to lead us. So it's like there's no trust in the Kenyan psyche. So the question is then, how are we going to get this trust? Before we even talk about what the law says, before we even talk about what the political setup looks like. Yeah.
Kenneth, looking at how this conversation is ongoing, before that action by the president, we did see the former Prime Minister Raila Odinga sharing a podium, if you like, with the president to the signing of the IBC bill into law, the establishment of the IBC. When you look at that, do you think it still embodies the aspect of bringing together? Is it new ideas, rather old ideas being brought into the new, emptying, or rather, pouring old wine into new wineskins? The young people were not seen there, the women were not seen there as well in terms of huge representation. Do you think we are taking the right path?
That's a good question. I would want to zoom out and start from where my brother just spoke.
Yes.
It's very important and incumbent upon every citizen of Kenya to remember that the president of Kenya is just a chief executive who is appointed by a board. The board that elects the chief executive are the people of Kenya. Leaders are a reflection of the people that appoint them. Just like a CEO is a reflection of the board that appoints him or her. So that point is a very critical point because it is incumbent upon us to see that this moment is just, I'm hearing a lot of people saying the government has this responsibility, that responsibility, they need to do this. It is a government of the people, by the people, for the people. And the responsibility of the citizen is at the point of appointment where they say we are going to exercise our constitutional right to appoint leaders, and then at that point they delegate their authority and that constitutional mandate to that leadership. That's the first stage. In Kenya, we have a history of during election time, and now talking about especially with the young people, there's a challenge we have in Kenya where during elections, young people are mercenaries for hire. So anybody can come and hire your brother John Tay and your cousin Ras Jemo, if you listen to Ras Jemo before the election, he goes to the Mheshimiwa, where he's having his having his rally, and starts heckling him, tutaki story yako nini, tembea na Yesu, And then as soon as Mhesh removes 500 shillings or 1,000 from his pocket, Ras Jemo is suddenly a convert of Mhesh. Mhesh unataka nichape nani, or Mhesh unataka aje, He's now a mercenary for hire, a goon for hire. Mhesh even can instruct him how to vote. So we need to devolve ourselves from this idea that, you know, all the problems start and end with the leaders we elect, that all the problems start and end with the government we elect. The people now should also be looking at themselves in the mirror and saying, what kind of people are we?
Yes.
What kind of people have we become? Corruption is a two-way street. So if you can't be bought, then the leaders will quickly read the message and realize, for example, Kenya has become a cycle of corruption where before somebody gets into office, if they find a way to amass wealth, whether they steal, kill, destroy, whatever they do, they amass the wealth and then spend it bribing, especially young people. And now this is for young people now to self-reflect and say, in the next election, when Jonte, your brother, and Ras Jemo, your cousin, is being hired to be a goon for the police, you're right there. What are you doing? And even you yourself. So we need to step back and say, even as we ask for accountability from the government, we also need to ask for accountability and responsibility from ourselves so that we elect the right kind of leader. And the last being what he said, there is good government, bad government, and then there's anarchy. A lot of countries around us have gone to anarchy. We've never gone there. Let's not aim for that. Let's start self-correcting, and let's start from a point of reflection. What kind of leaders are we electing? Remember, most young people, it was said in the last election, they abstained, they did not vote. Even the 8 million that registered still did not go and vote. So we have a challenge there.
Hold it right there, Kinuthia. Anarchy has been mentioned tonight, Victor. Absolutely. And of course, Kenyans will remember that it took a whole month, to get a new cabinet. 27th September 2022 is when the president unveiled, and they were sworn in on 27th October 2022. So we'll also be looking at the intrigues. Prof, I know you're itching to speak, but we want to, because you'll also be coming to look at, you know, the bottom-up economic model and, you know, how the new cabinet and his new, you know, team will help him achieve all this. But before then, let's take a short commercial break. We'll be back in a few minutes. Do stay with us. The hashtag is People's Court.
Kila kiongozi ana hadithi yake ya kipekee.
Wazazi wangu walikuwa bit strict kwa sababu mamangu mwenyewe, mimi kutoka kuzaliwa sijailala nje.
The white small one, huyo ana sniff gunpowder na risasi na bomb. Alafu huyo mwingine ni Ridgeback ana sniff simba.
Even the employees knows that. So when in the boardroom is the chairman, the CEO, and the rest of.
What point are you a wife?
The minute you get to that inside that door, you become now the wife.
Na kila maamuzi wanayoyafanya hufichua mengi kuhusu utu wao na uongozi wao.
We see God blessing us, and we now realize the power of giving also has to be rewarded back.
Kupitia kipindi Mfahamu Kiongozi, tunakuletea mahojiano ya kusisimua na uchambuzi wa kina kuhusu viongozi wetu.
Pick your core business as the bigger stones. Put them in your diary first. Give priority the bigger things.
Usikose kila Alhamis saa 1:30 jioni.
In a world where challenges are as common as opportunities, there are those who dare to defy the odds. They are the entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurship isn't just about starting a business, it's about embracing uncertainty, pushing boundaries, and turning dreams into reality.
Hata ambao ni pesa ya kusave, wallahi. Ambao mwaka ni pesa nyingi sana.
As long as you're earning something, there's always that opportunity to save. And you start with where you are.
The way we run the business is in a very unforgiving way, where every team member has to bring out their best.
So, to all the dreamers, innovators, and risk takers out there, remember, being an entrepreneur isn't just a job, it's a way of life. Join the journey. Become an entrepreneur. The Grind, Mondays at 7:30 p.m.
Here on Beyond the Limit, we celebrate the extraordinary achievements of individuals who redefine possibilities in a journey of
The conversation was getting quite heated off here, but thank you so much for staying with us, and we continue to welcome your feedback as well on X, formerly Twitter. The hashtag is The People's Court, at Muyakane, at George Maringa _ at TV47 News, our SMS line 22047, as well as our WhatsApp number, which will be displayed on your screen. Start with your name, where you're watching us from, followed by your question, feedback, or comment regarding the program tonight.
Right. Now, there's a phrase that is quite relevant right now, because the discussion, part of the discussion in public spaces and private spaces is on the reconstitution of this government and whether or not some of the people from the previous government would actually be able to make it back. Throwing the baby out of the bathwater. And just for a little bit of context, good people, I believe this comes from a time when, a long time ago, when families used to take baths very rarely, and they would fill up a bathtub, and the order of bathing would go from the most senior to the most junior. So by the time, you know, the father begins and the mother and so on, and if you haven't showered for months and months, that water is going to get dirty pretty quickly. So by the time they get to the last person, the youngest person in the family, the baby, the water is quite mucky that you need to throw it out. Do you throw it out? You know, and in the process of throwing it out, you might just throw out the baby with it. Now, were there any babies, so to speak, Prof? Were there any people who deserved the position of a cabinet secretary of the country of Kenya, the Republic of Kenya? Were there people who, you believe, executed their mandate in a way that is worthy of the trust that Kenyans had put in them, people that perhaps should come back?
Yeah, so when you ask that question, I think that the best way to answer you is that we have a lawyer here. There's what we call de jure and the de facto. Who was actually a de facto cabinet in Ruto's cabinet? There was none. Ruto's cabinet, from the way I analyze it, there was always a de facto, and the ones you are seeing there, they were just smoke screens. They were just de jure. For example, you tell me any single decision that Aisha Jumwa ever made as hers. But even if you go to Kithure Kindiki is a lawyer. When you look at him making declaration, illegalizing a legal right to protest, was that a lawyer? When you hear, if you look at the Kindiki's pronouncement, so according to me, this whole cabinet was so incompetent. And even their incompetence was because of the person who appointed them. Ruto was the cabinet. Ruto was the PS. Ruto was everything. Everything you saw coming from the mouth of every cabinet, there was a de facto Ruto put in place to make those pronouncements. I could even almost predict that most of the statements that are being read by all the cabinet secretaries were written by the de facto, so that's the de jure reading them. And you know, if you look about the state, you have to realize that the state here was too much full of themselves that they never even knew who actually had the power. And I want to go back by saying something. I hope you didn't answer the question, but I think this is a very fundamental thing to ask. When you hear about the sovereign power belonging to the people, these people had forgotten that the power belongs to the people. Because if you look at the Constitution of Kenya 2010, the people is the cause of the cause. The people causes the sovereignty, sovereignty causes a government, so that the cause of causes, in Latin you say causa causarum, you are the cause of all the causes. So they ignored the people. Like, look, the Gen Zs came to the street. They were sitting today on tarmac, putting their hands like this, saying, we are peaceful. Someone who has put his hand here even has no stone. And then you shoot them. Then you tear gas the owner of the state. The owner of the state has come to say, I'm not happy. I'm coming to occupy the state. Then you shoot them. Did you see any minister who disagreed with any single decisions about shooting people, tear gassing them? Did they disagree with any of the policies which were being passed? The Finance Bill, the Finance Act? All the pronouncements about removing the Linda Mama from women, removing money from students in high school. And we're just watching. So according to me, the lessons we've learned, that for the first time, the center of the universe has moved from the state to the citizens where it belongs, because that's true sovereignty. the Gen Zs have taught the government what it means to do public participation in a way that it is not being maligned by the state. And when I saw the president sacking the cabinet, not because he wanted, but because the Gen Z said I discovered that first, the president has lost a vote of no confidence, because how can you appoint 23 people that you end up sacking all of them? And then secondly, how do you sack them because someone has said? So we have a leadership crisis whereby the head of state does not know why he's taking Kenyans, and he doesn't know which team to take us there. So the next thing we are waiting...
Rotich believes that they actually gave him a perfect opportunity to jettison political baggage.
Yeah, so actually, according to me, what I'm trying to say, that actually there's something I want to comment there, that he had very incompetent cabinet, and he put them there so that he can be powerful, because there's something we call in strategy wingman theory. If you want to look brilliant, walk with fools. So when, like, I'm very dark, isn't it? When I'm next to someone who is light, I look very, very dark. But if I go to sit to someone who is very dark, like a Sudanese, I might look chocolate brown. So Mr. President wanted to look very brilliant by having very not so competent people or not so brilliant people next to him to amass power. But because he did that, he's lost power, because these people who are so incompetent could not help him now when the cheese is now sleeping. Look, all the ministers in the finance could not advise him the best finance bill. You go to security, they could not advise him. Internal security, you have the most incompetent inspector general, whom you ask him, what you are going to do? For example, if I'm head of state ask you as an inspector general, what are you going to do tomorrow that there's a demonstration? You have to tell me something that will make sense. The guy said, I'm going to shoot them. So what option is that?
All right.
So I'm trying to say that the head of state has demonstrated that he has incompetence in choosing people next to him, because you look at Kibaki. Kibaki had very competent people. Moi was not educated. We had Saitoti, a professor, in his cabinet. Uhuru had a professor, Magoha, telling him that cannot work. Can you tell me one single cabinet secretary that could look at Ruto in the face and disagree with him? If you have a wife who cannot even disagree with you for 50 years of marriage, I'm sure that is not even a marriage worth talking about. So I'm looking at somebody who does not see meritocracy, and that's why the Gen Zs have said we want meritocracy. Honesty not being important, and pragmatism. You cannot wake up and say that over 6,000 people come to Nairobi and I'm going to shoot them. It's impossible.
All right. Okay. So clearly we're at a place where we need to rebuild this. But I'd like to just pick on something Richard mentioned a little earlier, and I hope you guys are preparing what you want to say. Richard, you did say a bad government is better than no government. You also pointed out that our leaders are a reflection of who we are, our society. So if you look at your leaders, you're looking at the person in the mirror, you're looking at yourself. Now, we have another opportunity. We, the same society that elected these leaders, including the president as the chief executive, as it was said here, we, the same society, using the same methods or using the same constitutionally, laid out approaches, have an opportunity to build another government, build another cabinet. And you did mention a subject of faith. There appears to be a rather short supply of faith. Do you think, Richard, that this existing set of circumstances portends a competent, diverse, and effective cabinet going forward?
Thank you. I think the first way in which you can tell the intelligence of a leader is to look at the men around him. If they are competent and capable, the leader will be considered competent and capable. If they are otherwise, the leader will be considered otherwise according to the people around him. So the first 2 years of the presidency of William Samoei Ruto has undergone a vote of no confidence from the people, and that vote of no confidence is premised on the fact that the people around him, the CSS, and his cabinet in its entirety was incompetent. So the verdict to that end passed against the president is that he is incompetent. Be as it may, he has a second opportunity to prove that actually maybe this incompetence was, we can call it a misstep, for lack of a better word for now. And maybe he comes up now with a fresh cabinet that balances the interest of the Kenyan people ethnically, because we are a multi-ethnic society, number one. Number two, he has to do he's divided between choosing people with experience or people who have a passion to serve. Sometimes you might find people who have a passion to serve but no experience. And now that brings a bit of a very interesting situation, because you can find somebody who is very experienced. They're all politicians, they've been in government for a very long time, but now that gives them some sort of lethargy. But now you might find a very passionate young person who has zero experience. And in war, and I'm glad Prof here is a strategist, you know, they say you'll always go for passion over experience, because a passionate person will always go an extra mile. So I believe this is a wake-up call for the president to actually show the people of Kenya, who are the majority, the hustlers, that actually they were not mistaken to believe that he was the person who would best protect their interests. And he is divided between two things. Number one, the political class and the common people, who are the majority, have two diverse interests which are pulling on different directions. The political class, who are part of the majority in his first cabinet, are there, and their need is that he must oppress the majority in order to sustain them. And that has proven this far to be unsustainable. On the other hand, the people who are majority, who put him to power, are only asked that he does not oppress them. Just don't tax us, just give us peace and an enabling environment. So the president is divided between taking sides with the political class and oppress the people, and the verdict is public knowledge, or take sides with the people, form a government that reflects the diversity of the people of Kenya, the energy and qualifications of the people of Kenya, and take us to the next step.
Right. Mr. Kinuthia, I understand you have a point to make. And as you do that, I would like Ms. Kangai and Mr. Omwansa to be ready with the question. We're talking about a new cabinet. Let's talk about who. Let's talk about how we get there. Who, the kind of person we need there, and how we actually get to selecting these people. As you percolate on that, Mr. Kinuthia.
Actually, my point is a perfect segue to what you've just said, the who,
Brilliant.
What, where, when, how, and why we appoint the leaders. People sometimes confuse leadership and management. So in leadership, a leader is, their main job is to have the vision to take us to a future state, and the capability and experience and wisdom to appoint the right people to take us there. So the vision for leadership, and then the overall strategy that is now handed over to management. Management is different from leadership, because managers manage within the box, or they manage the box, whereas the leader can actually decide the box is not working, remove it, and then bring another box. That's an important point. Now, one key aspect of a good leader, like my brother insinuated or hinted, is the ability to pick the right people. We have a challenge there, because here in Kenya, we have slowly morphed into what we call party politics. And I remember I was in this studio and others when I said, inevitably Kenya will have to go to an issue-based politics, where it's not a matter of party, it's not a matter of tribe, it's not a matter of factional politics. And now the beauty of this Gen Z sort of influence is that the Gen Z are, like they like to say, tribeless. The Gen Z is, partyless. Why does that matter? Look at Parliament. Parliament is supposed to be a place of debate, where there are members of Parliament who are representatives of the people, that bring diverse opinions based on the electorate that elected them and what they want. Which means if a member of Parliament from one constituency, their people want something different from a member of Parliament from another constituency, each of them should reflect the wishes of their people. The problem with party-based politics is they're all and that's what midwifed what we are experiencing today. When there's a bill or something else, instead of people voting their conscience, voting the opinion and position of the people that elected them, and most importantly, basing it on facts and issues and merit and objectivity, then they're all sort of shepherded into a party position, where irrespective of what you feel, what you think, what your people want, kind of what Prof was talking about, they're all shepherded into you are this party, you have to vote this way. And now we are witnessing a change in our politic, our body politic, because now the people are holding the members of parliament accountable individually. They're going to their homes, going to their businesses, in fact, many of them are not showing up where they usually show up.
They're also greeting them.
Yes, so where the public participation process has failed, this is a real public participation that is saying, hey, Mr. MP, hey, Mhesh, listen, we sent you there to speak on our behalf, number one. We sent you there to also speak your mind because you're an independent leader or manager. And most importantly, we sent you there so that you can have a healthy debate. And if somebody else convinces you that what our position was not right, then you can vote your conscience based on the issues, the facts, and the merits of the matter. We are telling you, don't just be shepherded into party position. So what we are seeing, number one, in the next election, one, these Gen Zs, all of them who did not vote or participate in the last electoral process, now they will be there. The 8 million that registered but did not vote, they will be there. Remember, the vote was, roughly 7 million on both sides, but determined by a very small quantity. So now we are birthing an issue-based politics in Kenya, a tribeless politics in Kenya, a factionless politics in Kenya, and most importantly, this politics of party where one person can remote control a whole parliament. Those are days of the past, because now people are knowing. I saw an MP with a t-shirt printed, I'm sorry, and many other things. People are now being held to account in a way, whether it's your conscience or your people or the issues or the facts or the truth or the merits, people in parliament will be having a different debate.
All right. Well, Mr. Mwansa, you were clear on who you didn't want. Can you tell us, who do you want? Followed by Ms. Kangai and Mr. Okech.
Thank you so much. I just want to remind you that there are these people, my good friends and others, who are keeping on telling us, oh, our decision is only at the ballot, let's wait for general election, let us wait for 2027. Buana, by 2027 with this economy, I will not be there. I'll be dead. My children will be suffering the way I'm suffering because of my grandfather. Now I want just to remind them that politicians think about general elections, but leaders think about the next generation. That's what my grandfather didn't think about. When others were, he said here last time, when others were grabbing land and all of them, he was dundaing wherever he was. That's why I'm suffering now. And I will not dunda until we get justice and we change this country to be what we want to be. I just want to remind my president, that statement, by the way, about generation and general election, it's my grandmother who told me, who is with Jacob Juma somewhere, and I told you Jacob Juma is our spokesperson, and he still communicates today. And even today he has communicated through the earthquake. That's why I want to tell Mr. Ruto that the writing is on the wall. Daniel chapter 25, verse 5 and 8. Mene mene kenangoa, you know that, what it means. That the writing on the wall, his days are numbered. And if he's not going to listen to us as Gen Zs, if he's not going to listen to us as Gen Zs, he's going to eat grass like Nebuchadnezzar. Remember that story? We don't go to church, we as Rastamen, but we also believe in that. Okay. He's going to eat grass. So he has to listen to us.
Okay.
The signs are there.
So who would you like to
Exactly. I'm coming there. I'm just giving a background. I'm telling you how serious this thing is, so that when he sits to choose those years, he must know how serious it is. Okay? So God is communicating to us through France. Today, the government has resigned, the government of France. And those are signs. The same way we have the plaque is in the Bible, until the last one. So I want to tell Mr. Ruto this. The people that we want in the cabinet secretary, for us, we are not going to give him a list. If we were to give him a list, we'll have like our good friend here, Prof, who is a learned fella, who is very competent, who has really done a lot for this country. But for us, we are not going to give him a list. What we are asking him, give us competent people. We have learned people. And in that cabinet, we must have at least, that's a demand, it's not a wish or a request, at least 5 Gen Zs. We have learned people here. Hata sisi wenye tuko na rasta tumesoma by the hata mimi akiniweka hapo pahali niko hata PA bado nitafanya kazi. So kindly we want competent people, and if he's not going to give us competent people, we will reject that cabinet secretary list in totality, because we will be occupying parliament one day after the other to ensure that all CS who are being vetted there are of good quality and will deliver and will take us to Canaan.
All right. Ms. Kangai?
I really want to think that our country enjoys politics way too much than it should, and that's what drags us behind as a country. When it comes to the leaders that we have and the people that the president seem to have a lot of trust around himself and around the people that surround him, it's a lot of political class, and that's where the problem comes in. There is time for everything. As much as we enjoy all this up and down, there's time for everything. The other time the president is talking about, 2027 is coming, he's planning the next politics. And that's the problem. So the next cabinet that is coming in, we don't want to recycle the same people that we have seen. You get a politician who was once a senator, you have put him in the cabinet. You get a politician who was once an MCA, you have put him in the cabinet. We are just recycling the same problem over and over again. So we do not need the political class anymore. They have proven to be not of our own interest, but they're there for their own political gain.
Allow me to just ask, would it be accurate to say that you propose a cabinet with no political face at all? Is that your proposal?
I think that when it comes to coming up with a full cabinet, the majority become political. The majority of it becomes political. Even if there is that aspect of politics, let it not be the majority. Let it not be half of the cabinet is a political class. In fact, if there is that possibility, yes, there should not be any political class in that whole cabinet. Let there be people who are intellectuals, people who are experts, people who know what they're doing with the dockets they're being given to handle, people who have the expertise to work and deliver, rather than plan the next political movement that is coming. We are planning 2027 at 2024. It's really sad for our country.
All right. Yeah. Mr. Ketch, before you come in and the others, allow us to take a short break. Let's, just reset for a little bit. People at home, please send in your questions, your feedback. We are ready to receive them, your questions to the people that we have in studio, your positions, your views and reviews on the news, as I like to say. Send in the messages. The numbers are on your screen right now, or should be on your screen. The SMS line, the WhatsApp number is on your screen. We'll be right back after these messages.
Kila kiongozi ana hadithi yake ya kipekee.
Wazazi wangu walikuwa bit strict kwa sababu mamangu mwenyewe, mimi kutoka kuzaliwa sijailala nje.
The white small one, huyo ana sniff gunpowder na risasi na bomb. Alafu huyo mwingine ni ridgeback ana sniff simba.
Even the employees knows that. So when in the boardroom is the chairman, the CEO, and the rest of.
At what point are you a wife?
The minute you get to that inside that door, you become now the wife.
Na kila maamuzi wanayoyafanya hufichua mengi kuhusu utu wao na uongozi wao.
We see God blessing us, and we now realize the power of giving also has to be rewarded back.
Kupitia kipindi Mfahamu Kiongozi, tunakuletea mahojiano ya kusisimua na uchambuzi wa kina kuhusu viongozi wetu.
Pick your core business as the bigger stones. Put them in your diary first. Give priority the bigger things.
Usikose kila Alhamis saa 1:30 jioni.
In a world where challenges are as common as opportunities, there are those who dare to defy the odds. They are the entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurship isn't just about starting a business, it's about embracing uncertainty, pushing boundaries and turning dreams into reality.
Hata ambao ni pesa ya kusave, wallahi. Ambao mwaka ni pesa nyingi sana.
As long as you're earning something, there's always that opportunity to save. And you start with where you are.
The way we run the business is in a very unforgiving way, where every team member has to bring out their best.
So, to all the dreamers, innovators, and risk takers out there, remember, being an entrepreneur isn't just a job, it's a way of life. Join the journey. Become an entrepreneur. The Grind, Mondays at 7:30 p.m.
Here Here on Beyond the Limit, we celebrate the extraordinary achievements of individuals who redefine possibilities. In a journey of resilience and determination,
this new cabinet, as well as many others. Mr. Okech, please take it away.
Appreciations. Number one, before even the president tells us what he has reserved in his feather cap, he should understand that history has already found its way of coming back again. But unlike 205, this time the cabinet secretaries are not only going to be vetted by the parliament. The cabinet secretary are first going to be vetted by the people before they get vetted by the parliament. As they have posited that, indeed, we don't want to move to anarchy, which is the same position that the celebrated President Mwai Kibaki took and changed the cabinet. However, now I'd proceed to answer the question on who do we want. Number one, despite having people who are there by merit, we also realize that there is the question of integrity, whereby, as it has been posited, some of the CSAs are well learned. However, on the part of integrity, they fail us. Also on the question of should a Gen Z be there as a cabinet secretary? Number one, we must face the truth that it will be good politically. However, we are even seeing Gen Zs who are in parliament right now. Some were in parliament who never delivered, which still raises the question of integrity. The president, as he sits, through the vicissitudes of time, Milton Obote would speak to him that indeed history can blame you for learning and forgetting everything at the same time. The president has to bite a bullet and choose people who have integrity. Thank you.
All right. Mr. Rotich, then Ms. Munga.
Yeah. Thank you very much. I think in trying to reorganize the government and deciding whom to present to serve as Kenyans, the president should be guided by the constitution. The drafters of the constitution envisaged a situation where the political class might betray the citizenry. That's why they provided within the core of the constitution guidelines, values, and principles that are to guide them. The president has a leakage. The constitution has provided under Article 73 a leakage for him, that the cabinet secretaries, state officers, leaders in government should possess the competency, should respect the people, should have integrity. Article 10 of the constitution provides for us for the national values and principles, because the frames of the constitution envisions a situation where some politicians and leaders might not have learned manners, at home. So they said, let us provide these things for you people. We are providing values, we are providing principles that may guide you people. At the onset of the constitution, in its preamble, it is very clear, starting from the first sentence, that we, the people of Kenya, while giving ourselves this constitution, while acknowledging that we are of various cultural backgrounds and tribes, while acknowledging the fact that we have so many minerals, so many resources, while acknowledging the fact that we believe in God, we give ourselves this particular constitution to us and the future generations. But when we get in a situation where they want to destroy us, including the future generation by borrowing left, right, and center, then it becomes unfortunate. The second thing that I think is hailing each and every department in this country is the issue of political parties. A lot of people do not realize that the fact that political parties in this Kenya are briefcase in nature, that are formed when the when the election times are nearing, vests a lot of power in the president of the day. That is because the president feels like, if I do not side with you, you will not be voted in by your electorate, because I wield power, because this party is mine, and this party has the possibility of rewarding you or punishing you. When we strengthen the political parties, when we strengthen the discipline within the political parties, that is, you cannot just shift from the party that brought you to government. If you shift, you will be held accountable. When we have parties which can last for 50 years, for 60 years, then we can have trust in those particular parties, because leaders can deliver without worrying and being scared that the president might punish me, because he wields a lot of power, because the party is his. So the problem is that of rule of law deficit, which Senior Counsel Nasir Abdullahi clearly says that the problem of Kenya is not corruption. It is disrespect for the rule of law, and that of the owners of political parties wielding immense power. Thank you.
All right. So with this kind of challenge, as you've outlined, how then do we navigate the journey to getting a cabinet that, beyond what you said about the constitution, there's also the political realities of the day. Who do you want to see? Talk to me a little bit more about the diversity aspect. Talk to me a little bit more about the competency aspect. Who do you want to see? Just paint that picture for us. Who do you want to see in that cabinet?
Thank you very much.
In fact, how many? The Constitution gives quite a big latitude.
The Constitution is very clear in Article 152 that the minimum should be 14 and the maximum should be 22. I think 16 to 18 cabinet secretaries will be enough. And the number always does not really matter that much if they can deliver. And I want to begrudgingly, address the issue when that we witnessed even today and 2 days ago, where the Governor Mutai Kaiga, if I'm not wrong, clearly tells the president that the Central Kenya region requires minimum of eight cabinet secretaries because they delivered apparently 3.5 million votes in Kenya for the president. So the problem therefore becomes if the president is being held hostage by politicians drawing from tribalistic inspirations, then that becomes problematic. The aspect of having competent technocrats in government has been seen in Kenya in the past. It's not an alien issue. We had past cabinet secretaries who were very exemplary, like, for instance, Fred Matiang'i. Matiang'i revolutionized education in Kenya extremely. One person doing what he has to do to deliver for the people of Kenya. We saw Magoa doing the Lord's work in the Ministry of Education. We saw Matiang'i again doing exemplary well in the Ministry of Education. So we want to have technocrats, because technocrats will not be thinking about the next electioneering period. They will be thinking of delivering and moving to do other things. When we have people who can exit from government and being appointed as CEOs in multinationals all over the world, then these are the people that we need, because they can deliver and they know that their job is not under siege because they are competent. So technocrats is the way to go.
All right, Ms. Amunga and George?
I think the most important thing moving forward in terms of what new cabinet we would want to see in terms of diversity, I believe it should not be based on tribe, but be based on what are their qualifications. You cannot find someone who is skilled in education and you take them to be a CS for roads and transport. You cannot find someone who is skilled in matters of, warfare, and you're taking them to education. You understand? So as much as, my friend here has said that, we do not need a political class in the new cabinet secretary, who will be the guide to the new cabinet? Do you understand? Who will guide the new Gen Z or the new people who are entering into cabinet? I believe it's also important that we have new people, yes, but a bit in the political class who have some sort of experience in the field to guide the Gen Z that are entering into parliament, into the cabinet secretary position. And we also don't want comedians, because I've seen a couple of MPs who are very much into comedy. Salasia, they are very active at making the Gen Z laugh on social media. But when it comes to the tangible evidence, what are you doing for us? Is there something that we can see that is tangible and say, okay, this is what he did? We are seeing some of the MPs in parliament, instead of voting no to the finance bill, when it comes to the time to vote, they're saying reject finance bill instead of saying no. So it already becomes a spoiled vote. So are these the people that we would be choosing from and putting them in the cabinet secretary position? These are things that we don't want to see. As the Gen Z, I am a Gen Z. Again, this is a very good introduction statement. I am a Gen Z. As the Gen Z, we expect that when the president starts to, tell us his new cabinet, actually, before he even tells us his new cabinet, as they're being vetted, we expect that the president would say, this person is qualified for this position because here are the qualifications for this person. This is the reason why we believe this person will be best suited for this position, and this is why we are nominating this person to get the cabinet secretary position. But if that's not the case, then how can we we trust the new people that the president is nominating. Also, just as I conclude, my friend Richard had claimed that, the president seeming untrustworthy is a reflection of the people. No, Richard. It's a reflection of our parents. The people also include the Gen Z. The Gen Z who are still in high school during the elections, the last elections. It also includes the youth who apparently, according to Mr. Kinuthia, were being used by some of these political people to, fight instead of be there to vote. So these people did not actually go to the ballot. So Ruto already, President William Ruto, does not have the support of the entire population. He has the support of our parents, of our grandparents, but he does not have the support of the people in totality, which includes the Gen Z, which includes the youth. But this time, come 2027, they will definitely be at the ballot. So I am quite excited to see that.
Thank you for your submissions. Prof, you've been here for quite a while, and it's not the first time. I mean, picking up from what she said, tell us the qualifications of this person. And as you joined that, Lazarus Chakwera of Malawi in 2022 did the same. Sir Ellen Johnson Sirleaf did the same in 2010. And it sort of inspired confidence moving forward. If you coin up with what she's saying, shows the qualifications of this person, it takes us back to 2013. Remember, during the white shirt and red ties, weren't their qualifications read out, and some of the biggest corruption scandals followed later? When we talk about running a government, it is not just about optics. It is not just about saying this person qualifies for this, because some even, TORs of cabinet secretaries are at policy level. Do you think we even understand what we are asking for?
Yeah, in fact, I would tell you that, you see, if you look at these things, like, for example, if you use body organs, the head, do you know why the brain is the only organ which is inside the skull? Because that's what drives everything. When you're brain dead, you're actually dead. So you can bring any competent person to work in Ruto government, but his ideology, his philosophy is wrong. You cannot take Ronaldo to go and play for Gor Mahia and Mathare United and he scores the same goals as he would play for Barcelona or play for Real Madrid where he was playing before. So according to me, the issue of change in governance, are we going to have a cabinet that will come and serve again under the same philosophy where I call the issue of de jure and the de facto? How sincere and honest is the president when he's changing his cabinet? Will we see a change of faces, but the philosophy that drives the government is the same? Look at what is happening now. The finance supplementary budget has slashed a lot of money in development and added more money on recurrent expenditure, and is a way to punish us because we rejected the finance bill. So Gen Zs, I don't know that you got what you wanted. Because you reject the finance bill, yes, but the money he wanted, he will still get whether you reject the finance bill or not. So has Ruto changed in heart? Do we have a Damascus president, or we are still having Saul, but looking like Paul? Because I can tell you guys, the Ruto who talked to you on Tuesday, the day we entered parliament, that is the man. The man who is talking later, these are now other things. That man who talked like he does not care, he can do anything at all costs, that's the man you have. Do you think the man you're having now who sacked the cabinet is a different man from the one who said he's willing to do anything at all costs, meaning that anyone can even die for him to remain president? So according to me, if the head does not change, the cabinet has been, the executive has been the head, but then the public service has been the heart, isn't it? But then the money which is lacking is the kidney which flows money throughout the system. So if we have parastatals, head of parastatals, public service, guys, I do not want us to fall in a trap of advising Ruto on who to recruit. It's a trap. Do you know why? He will tell us we're the one who dictated to him the cabinet. He should answer. Let us not be consultant for the president. For us, we've rejected the finance bill, and we said the cabinet is incompetent. Now, what we are looking for are not events and activities, we are looking for deliverables. In strategy, there are some variables we call lagging variables, are the things you do. But the leading variables are the things we see. For us, we want to see medicine in hospital.
Okay.
We want to see doctors are employed. We want to see these teachers, JCC teachers, given jobs. We want to see young people at work. Instead of the Gen Zs looking on how to become engineers, become doctors, they are on the street being shot with tear gas. Can you imagine when another country is giving their Gen Zs jobs, for us we're giving our Gen Zs tear gas, we are pouring cannon water on them and shooting them.
Okay.
After this generation, how will Kenya compete against another country that put their young people in work, while for us we are putting them on the street? So according to me, let us tell the president what we want. We want employment rate to reduce by this rate. We want medicine to be in hospital. We want teachers to be like this. We want the economy to grow like this. We want industrialization to grow like this. For example, manufacturing in Kenya is 7% of the GDP. Do we want to have such an economy where manufacturing is 7% of GDP, while developed countries manufacturing is 43%? So we should be asking for the things that will grow us, not asking for small things, because tomorrow he can even put you there as a Gen Z, but then you cannot make a decision. You are just a cabinet secretary on paper.
Thank you, Prof.
So according to me, let's go for what matters.
Yeah.
And if we go for what matters, we'll get what we want. And I think that's what should define leadership. Leadership should be not just competent, but have you used your competence for the benefits of society? Very few people have done that.
Bwana Kajwang, picking up from what Prof is saying, Vix from Eldoret says, just following the conversation, I got nothing to add on, because actually we Kenyans need to change once you get a chance to represent others. Whatever the Gen Z and much of the protesters has been speaking about is akin to manners, really. People overlapping roads, people stealing left, right, and center, flaunting whatever they possess, and in terms of also not understanding really what you're supposed to do. As you sum up, even as you enter the home stretch of this conversation, before we come back to this table, when we look at what has been done in the past, you've of course listened to conversations. Do you think that perhaps there will come a time that as Gen Z, as young people, you will say, okay, fine, this is a government that represents the leaders of now, who are the youth?
Thank you so much. As a young Gen Z, today I'm disenchanted, disenfranchised, disturbed, perturbed, and thousands of questions running in my mind. And I ask myself, is this a fair ground, tranquil environment for me to live as a young Kenyan? And just, the Kenya Bureau of Statistics gave us a report just the other day that 32% of young people between the age of 20 and 29 are unemployed. Then we have a guy who works for government, Devin D, is a good typist on X, giving us economic jargons, referencing what President Kibaki did by energizing and integrating the economy of our country from 0.6% to 7%. We are having many people who are employed by President Ruto, who are showcasing and flaunting opulence, arrogance, and demystifying really incompetence. I want to state it categorically without any fear of contradiction as a young person.
Okay.
Who is fed up by how the government is operating on the soil.
Can you pick another mic, the one behind you?
You were saying, you're stating categorically?
I want to state it categorically without any fear of contradiction, that before even thinking about who to recruit or who to appoint into government, we should go for those who have stolen our money. We should start from there. Because many, many, many people, and you have had reports going left, right, and center of people who have bought properties from over several quarters. Other people have even transferred money to offshore accounts. Then you want to tell us that we live normally, that we have business as usual. We shouldn't go that direction. So the first thing that the president should do is to ensure that they give us a report in accordance with the premises of Article 35 of the Constitution. Access to information, so that we know Those people who have looted in gigantic proportions be brought to book, because we are tired of playbooks of politicians giving us rhetorics that are never satisfied, and even from the president himself. The other day he said that he doesn't want to see politicians or people working in government doing harambes in churches. Just the other day, this other Sunday, the president himself told the church that he would like to support them for a project that is underway. And therefore, we should not continue living in hypocrisy. We should not continue living in opulence. We should not be having people living in arrogance. We elected some people to serve the interest and to represent us. But right now, they are representing their own stomachs. They are representing their own interest. Purporting to be serving. So what we want, even right now, we want to decentralize the very same thing that we are doing as Gen Z to the county levels. Because personally, I come from Narok County. Are they able to account for the money that they collect? They collected 3.9 billion shillings in 2023-2024 financial year. Are they able to account for the money that is being decentralized? So that is what we want as Gen Z. We want accountability, and everyone who has stolen our money must bring back our money. And we do not want to see faces of politicians being given opportunities in the cabinet.
As you come back to you two gentlemen, Kinothia and Richard, in a balancing act, because the president is president and commander-in-chief of the Kenya Defence Forces, he's also the leader of the ruling party. At what point do we, as you sum up briefly, balance politics and the reality on the ground?
In leadership and management strategy, there's something called the RACI metrics. The RACI metrics, R stands for responsible, A stands for accountable, C stands for consulted, I stands for informed. So usually responsibility reflects delegation. So this person is responsible for this task, this person is responsible for this task. In the Kenyan context, we are a tricameral system. So we have the executive, we have the judiciary, and then we have the legislature, which is split into the Senate and Parliament. So in terms of responsibility, responsibility is delegated to all the three institutions and should reflect not only the will of the people, but as Prof said, what is necessary to govern the country. Now, accountability always stops with one person, and that's why the president is the one being held accountable. The one who has accountability also has the authority. You don't give one and leave the other. He's accountable, so he has been given the authority. That's why you saw him dismiss all of cabinet. Consulted is for the experts. My brother talked about technocrats and bureaucrats. These are the people who are subject matter experts in each of their spheres of influence. And then informed is the stakeholders. The Kenyan public is the stakeholders. That's why we talk about public participation, and in this context we say that process has either failed or is corrupted, so that the public participation that's on paper or in the books does not really reflect the will of the people, and now they're forcing a public participation process. So we've had a system of recycling greed, like we said earlier. Politicians spend so much money corrupting people, then they spend all their time making up the money so that the next cycle, like my sister said, they can corrupt people again. So we need to just step back and agree this is our country. There is no other Kenya. We are all stakeholders in this country. We are the people who at the end have to live. This is a boat. If we sink together. If we swim or sail, we swim or sail together. So we have to agree this is our country, this is our home, this is now our responsibility. I love what my sister said. A lot of people did not participate in the election process, which is not only their right. Many people think it's optional. It is your obligation, unless you have a good reason not to participate in that process so that you determine the future of the country. Take it seriously. Those 8 million that registered didn't vote. I know that sometimes not voting is a vote in itself. You're saying something. You're protesting. It's a protest of some kind. But more importantly, I'm excited about all the people who will now enter the political process as a result of this midwifery that we're going through. So the direct answer to your question is the president needs to balance by very carefully thinking and strategizing about responsibility, his accountability to the people of Kenya, the consultation of all the subject matter experts, like some people say, the experience that we have. And Kenyans are very brilliant people. You go to every capital of the world, there are Kenyans at the top of every sphere of commerce, industry, political process and governance, and then let the people be informed and let them play their rightful role. And like my brother said, that role doesn't end at elections. You still have to hold the leadership to account.
As you end up, Richard, perhaps you could even be getting the last word, and you could be summing up in just a second. Is it so difficult to run a country? Is it so difficult to getting, quote unquote, the right people there? Other countries have done it. Out of 55 million Kenyans, can't there be a small percentage, just even 1%, that is credible enough with the access to intelligence, with the access to information, with access to knowledge and power? Would it be a difficult scenario, or do leaders and leadership in this country find itself confused or surrounded by other aspects?
Thank you. There's a mischief called winner take it all. And this mischief is a key feature of the presidential system of government, because democracy exists in two forms. We have a parliamentary system of democratic government and a presidential system of democratic government. Throughout our struggle for justice, equality in the legal and political environment, leaders of this country, because we have to agree that the history influences the present and possibly it can shape the future. Our leaders in this country have always said that we have what we call a problem of inclusion, and this problem can only be cured through what we call a parliamentary system of governance. A presidential system of governance has inherent problems to it. Number one, the possibility of having an authoritarian president, because he is not accountable to anybody. Another key feature of this kind of government is the fact that, in as much as I'm excited because these incredible fellow young people are speaking truth to power, you cannot have a vote of no confidence in our presidential system of government, because it does not provide for what we call snap elections. It has a fixed term. And our politicians have taken advantage of this, because our politicians know, once I'm elected, I have 5 years to serve before the next election. But now the current government, current young people who are not part of this government are saying, no, we did not vote for this government, number one. And it's fair that they did not vote for this government. So this gives them an opportunity to actually organize and prepare themselves even before, from now to 2027, probably they can call in for a referendum where they'll have to question and say, this constitution which provides for a presidential system of government denies us a chance to be dissatisfied with the government of the day. Perhaps they should consider having a parliamentary system where after, and I hope maybe a Gen Z will be the next president, because they are very informed and they have the numbers, they can form the next government. But should a Gen Z form the next government, and us, the millennials and the older generation, feel like we are not satisfied with the Gen Zs, if they give us a constitution that allows for snap elections, then we will be able to exercise that vote of no confidence. Allow me to make an observation, and I'm excited because Kajwang has mentioned John Quincy Adams. So with your kind permission, allow me to also mention Thomas Jefferson. So Thomas Jefferson says that government is instituted by men, deriving its just power from the consent of the people to the ends of right to life, protecting right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And if the people feel that the government is going against these ends, it is their responsibility to either abolish this government or alter it altogether. So good people, this government has, according to what we have seen in the recent times, gone against the three principles that Thomas Jefferson provides for. We cannot abolish it, it will lead to anarchy. We can only alter it, but we can only alter this government after 5 years.
Okay.
Thank you.
Brilliant. And what a way to sum up the...
Absolutely. What are Kenyans saying?
Indeed. I just comment came in from Emma, who said, I love the way Richard talks with a lot of knowledge. Godfrey Olosing, hatutaki wa siasa kwa cabinet. I believe meant wanasiasa kwa cabinet, because hao wanasiasa hawana ujuzi, wengi wao walikuwa wananunua vyeti vyao. I think talking of the fake degrees. It's Vicky, we're chopping the fish from the head to heading downwards to the tail. Next up is the county government. A lot of feedback coming in on X. Just one more I saw. We can have 16 county governments, scrap Senate. This is Etmangi original. Scrap Senate, women reps nominated MCA, Senate ETC, reduce constituencies to 150. Cabinet can be a maximum of 18, all of them picked from the professional bodies, official opposition leader's office with a shadow cabinet. And you guys have had it on trust. As a country, we have a lot of unmessed mess, and only the youths are sober enough to try the unmessing. May God help them bring sober thinking to our politicians and also as our parents. Your court is looking at the mess unmessed.
Absolutely. So, ladies and gentlemen, we want to thank you, first of all, the people who came to us tonight to participate in this conversation. I'd like to say this conversation is bigger than the time that we've had, but I appreciate each and every one of you for coming in and sharing in your feedback. Asanteni sana. And thank you for the people at home for trusting us to inform you this evening. We wish you a good evening full of God's blessings and reflection on the future of this country. My name is Victor Moyakane.
And I'm
my pleasure.
Indeed, and I'm George Maringa. Our sign language interpreter earlier was Rhoda Nyamai. We wish you a wonderful night. As always, stay safe and be kind to one another.